So, first drive out is going well. Mrs. Piggy is pushing us back home because Welcome everyone to this episode of Piggy Power with Kev. Today we're going to take it for a drive with Mrs. Piggy. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah. Okay everyone, so the boot came back, painted for the fifth time. Done. The boot seal is tighter than ever. Don't know why. Hoping that after a while that'll be fine, or I'll just have to trim it, because you almost have to bend the boot to get it shut. We've been to the petrol station, put fuel in. I put 15 litres in and it went to full, and that was from empty. But I think, if I remember rightly, imagine the fuel tank's up here. The fuel gauge kind of goes from empty here to full, and then there's a bit more space, but that's fine. Always good to have a little bit of space at the top for pressure and all the rest of it. We're just stringing it up for the very last time. I've probably spent 3 or 4, maybe 5 hours over the last couple of days trying to get the alignment right. We had negative caster and we need positive caster. So if you're looking from the side of the vehicle, you want a bit of, if you have negative caster, basically every time you hit a bump it wants to steer left and right. It's horrible to drive. But you want a little bit of positive like that. Now that's a bit extreme, but they have 3 degrees by standard, and this was like -4. I think originally I'd kind of played around with that, just getting the wheel in the right position in the wheel well, because it was scrubbing. So we've been hacking up there, mega hacking. But you can't see it from the outside, so that's fine, and we'll underseal that at a later date so it doesn't rust. We also were towing in quite a bit, and minis by standard, as you can hopefully see. It's about neutral this side, it's about neutral that side. They either have neutral or slight tow out. So that's really nice. And the rears always have toe in by about 1/8 of an inch. So they're probably towing in very slightly too much at the back, but that's okay. Gives us some fun down the roads. The brakes also, brake pedal would just hold back by about 5mm, which would keep the lights on and just hold the brakes on a little bit. So it's obviously not very nice. So when you do hit a bump, there's not just braking going on, there's steering and braking. So we just adjusted that spring that's under the ECU. I put that adjustable spring in there, so just tensioned it a bit more, and that's flicking up right nice. So that's good. Seems to drive okay. I mean, as soon as the torque comes in, there's no speedo input to the ECU at the moment. I think it's down on power, but it's got plenty of it. As soon as the torque kicks in at higher RPM, the boost you just got to hold on or you die. So that'll be interesting. But Mrs. Piggy wants to drive it today for the first time, switch to her insurance, etc. So we'll give it a wash off, because it's been in here, it's a bit dusty, got a bit of muck on it, and that won't be great for the first drive. And then we'll switch it to her insurance. We will put some cameras in, and we'll take you for a first drive. So Mickey Kellett's kindly recovered us back. I'm just gonna roll it in, see if we can get the last few meters before it completely seizes up. I don't know if you can see that the gearbox is ready to blow. Oh, come on, a bit more. Nope. No, I don't think she's got a bit more to get in. Whoa. Okay, and you're home safe. Oh dear. So that gearbox lasted 40 miles. Perfect. Right then, so the Mini. Don't know if you saw, put the bonnet stripes on, and about 3 hours later, the gearbox blew up. So we're driving to Gloucester. Didn't want to record it. I wanted Mrs. Piggy, she was nervous enough as it was, no cameras, have her first drive, go to Gloucester, have some lunch with family. So she drove about halfway there, and I could hear a few weird noises, but not done like a long trip yet in it, just been hooning around doing the geometry. And then we got close to Gloucester, and Mrs. Piggy said, let's switch. I'm getting like nervous, so nervous I'm sweating. So we switched and I'm driving along, and then I noticed some noises getting worse from the gearbox. Coming down the hill into Gloucester, really bad. Fifth seemed okay, it seemed like so second and fourth were worse, first and third and fifth seemed alright, and I thought, oh, yeah, maybe I can limp it there. I got about a mile from our location, and in second gear, it seized. The gearbox just locked up, dumped the clutch, turned the engine off, got it into neutral, started again, some bad noises, but I limped it there, and I was like, oh, maybe we'll limp it home. No way. Got 50 yards after having lunch, and the noises from this thing, and it was like, well, you've seen the videos. So I'm going to take the gearbox out. So, little more to say. I'll put this on time lapse now, ripping the whole front end of the car's got to come off, because the whole engine and box comes out to get the box off. And then once I've dismantled the box, maybe I'll start the video again and show you what I've got. So I've got 2 hours. I'd like to get the gearbox and engine out in 2 hours. That's the plan. My biggest concern with the whole thing here is actually where to put the bodywork so it doesn't get damaged. That is genuinely my biggest concern. So we see how we get on. Time lapse it. Let's hit some good music, because I'm going to play some music to motivate me to actually do this. Oh man, it was finished. Literally, it was finished. Alright, so it's been an hour and a half since we started, and feels like we've gone back about 2 years in the project. The engine is out, the next job is the box. Worryingly, like 99% sure I'd put oil in the box. No oil has come out yet, and there's no leaks. I think gearboxes need oil. This will be horrifically embarrassing. But here I am to record it so that everyone doesn't forget.
Preliminary investigations tell me that those pieces of metal should not be there. No, not so good.
Alright, there we go. It's dinner time. Had time to have a look inside the box. Clutch is all okay, which is great. There's definitely the box. And definitely piggy error. Hold my hands up. I did put oil in this at one point. I remember doing it. And thinking back, I drained it for some reason. I can't remember why. But you think I'd just put it back in again. So it had like a little, it had half a litre or so in the bottom. That was all. It wasn't enough to save it though. Yes. And all the other ones are scorched in there, all the brass synchros, all absolutely scorched, and it's touched a few places on bearings and teeth, as well as bits of metal everywhere. And in the bottom of the box. The diff seems okay, but I think what I'll do, just chuck in the other box, and at a later date, this is ruined. At a later date, get another IP5, get it rebuilt with some new bearings, and then put the diff in if we have traction issues. We're just going to put a standard box back in. Gonna have to follow all the grindings that I made for clearance, and we'll go from there. Well, that was an adventure. Right, next scene, car back together. Now, I'm all for one for sharing trade secrets with you, and apparently one that I've learned recently is that gearboxes need oil. Yeah. So when a mechanic charges you for a gearbox oil change, don't think it's a con. Except that yes, your gearbox definitely wants gear oil. You know, I'm here for the testing purposes, and I've tried it. And I can assure you, yep, if I don't have to get into this blooming gearbox oil, yep, gearboxes definitely need oil. Who knew? Well, hi there! It seems to be a while since we last spoke. Maybe just a matter of hours and a few minutes. A couple of seconds. A couple more seconds. But, oh look! I've got a working Mini again. So that's nice. So, what's left to do? I'm just letting it go through a heat cycle. Make sure it's all fine, and we'll go for a road test. But we have gears, and we have clutch. I mean, we had them before, it's just we didn't have the lubrication in the gearbox. We have that now, and remember to put oil in. So this should be better, right? Definitely. Right, let's go. Maybe then we can do some onboards, because so far the onboards haven't been usable. So, first drive out is going well. Mrs. Piggy is pushing us back home because little coolant hose has popped off.
Are you ashamed of yourself?
No, she thinks I'm ashamed of myself. This is hilarious. She says she's going to push us all the way home. Loads of people keep stopping going, do you need some help? I'm like, nope. She said she's going to push us all the way home. It's a long way home, by the way. Wow, it's a mile. And there's a hill coming up.
I need water.
There's plenty of water coming out the bottom of the car. Lick that. So here we are again. More snags. This time it's this pipe here, which I think has happened once before. It was an old pipe I found in a box. It was just the right shape, but I don't think I can cut it down anymore. So I'm gonna go and see what hose I've got. I can't replace it because the other end is way down there, and I think it's engine out to actually get that off. So I'm going to see if I've got a 90, so I can put a spacer down there below, a joiner, which I've got plenty of space like under there, but not over there, and then we can put a new piece of pipe on the end of it. I think essentially, because it's so degraded, the Jubilee basically had just sliced straight through it, and it was just a matter of time that. At least it happened just round the corner, and Mrs. Piggy pushed us home. Right, it's back together again. I don't think there's much coolant in it anymore, it's just water, so we'll probably have to just drain a little bit off. But its bladder issues seem to be resolved, it stopped wetting itself, which is nice. Let's go drive in the Cotswolds and see what breaks next. Yeah, who knows. I might make some modifications to the throttle pedal too, because it's like bolt upright, and it's very painful on your ankle, because your ankle's got to like do that all the time. So we might change that. So while we're at it, cooling system seems to be holding its water, which is nice. We modified the throttle pedal, so it was double length and it was a bit higher up. Now obviously it's solid mounting to the bulkhead, but we put a little slice behind, bent it about 30 degrees, put a securing plate behind it and glued it all in. So hopefully now, we both noticed, but Mrs. Piggy particularly noticed, that your foot was like basically like that all the time. So give you a bit of ankle. Oh, hello. You can imagine not so good. So just reduce that a little bit, and that's a bit more comfortable. And we've still got full throttle. I think in the mapping we need to reduce though how much, like the first 15% is only like 5% on throttle demand, just to reduce it, because as you're bouncing down the road it's like vroom, vroom, vroom. Let's go and test drive it and see it broken off. So just back from a successful test drive, even though there's been successful ones before. There's no coolant dripping underneath. Temperature was perfect. It's a hot day actually, amazing. April, 20 degrees, blasting sunshine. I gave it lots of abuse, and we're back in one piece. Yay! We took out the limited slip diff for the gearbox this time. Wasn't sure how that was affecting things. And actually it's a lot nicer to drive really. It doesn't try and torque steer you places. So I think maybe that diff wasn't the right diff for this engine and package. No traction issues as yet, so we'll see what happens when we up the power when the speedo is sorted. But for now, maybe let's go out for a drive tomorrow, I think, with Mrs. Piggy, and we'll put a little camera in there. Bloop, 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 bloop. Take some videos. Finally, after 3 attempts, we might get our first drive video, which isn't a first drive at all. I've driven it about 80 times. All about 100 yards and then back again, and then... We did get to Gloucester once.
Barely.
It's quite difficult to get a wide angle in here because it's like so tiny. I don't think I can... Oh, there we go, I'll go wide. Whoa! It's amazing how fun 33 miles an hour feels in a minute. We're picking up a lot of wind as well. Throttle is better, brakes still need maybe some work.
I'm not used to it though.
Accelerate in second and let off, and then all the bangs and pops will alert them to your presence.
His car was a lot lower than I thought.
It was like disappeared.
I didn't see it. I was like...
At what point did you see it? Because I saw it as you started overtaking, and I was like, oh, well, she's going to have to nail
I saw
it.
this little shimmer of silver.
It was a red car.
It was the roof, like the edges, the pillars.
It was a red car. Now all the cyclists are going to catch up now. Here they come. Amazing how quiet Gearbox is with it all in it.
The steering wheel does jerk when you accelerate quickly, doesn't it? Oh, I don't trust myself. I'm even doing 40 and I don't trust myself.
Then don't go faster.
So much money and time.
It's quite a bumpy road you've chosen to drive on. I don't think all the gimbals in the world would keep this video steady. It could be a gimbal on a gimbal on a gimbal on a drone, and it would still be bouncy.
Flipping it!
Try not to drive into oncoming traffic.
I can't imagine doing 60 in this car. It's petrifying.
Not on this road. So, aren't you excited that once we get the speedo going, it'll actually have some power? It has no power really at the moment. By its low down torque, I think it'll improve because it's torque limited low down as it thinks your clutch is slipping, essentially. So the top end it's got power, but the low end there's like no torque. Ah. Air conditioning working a treat. I just reduced the air conditioning a little bit.
Was there ever a Mini with a sunroof?
There we go. Yes.
Oh, okay.
They rotted even more than they do now. They had like the sunshine roof as well, which was like a pullback thing.
Okay.
And those had water issues and all their structural integrity removed.
Oh, let's not scare the horse.
No, steady now. Pop, bang, 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 pop, pop.
I haven't actually done a single pop yet.
You have, quite a few.
Oh, have I? I haven't been concentrating.
I'll tell you how to get them mega time in a minute. But I'd keep it in third if I were you, to avoid the popping and banging and just gently go by. Go on. There you go. Hi, horsey. Just videoed a horse like I've never seen one before. I'm a tourist, I've not seen horses before.
Is that a cow? I've never seen one in real life.
Film reference. I've seen a horse in real life though. Got it on video too. They're bigger than I thought. Are we nearly at the destination?
I just wanted to pass to see if they were here.
End video.
My Mini's better than yours! My Mini's better than yours! My Mini's better than yours!
You're on the limiter there. It's like, it's in that range between like 3,000 and 4,000 RPM. 3,000 and 5,000. It'll do it.
Amazing noise.
So you can do it in third too. So you can accelerate a bit now, just lift off completely. It does create a lot of heat though.
Okay.
So just like, if you're doing it for miles and miles, it's going to get quite hot.
No. Okay.
But it's fun while you can.